welcome to Transformational Tuesdays. I'm Teresa Velardi, your host for this time of inspiration, education, motivation, and conversation focused on key ingredients necessary to create positive change in our lives, which I call transformation. And today I am really excited to have our speaker with us today. Our guest is Jo Ann Rotermund, and she wrote a book called The Forgiveness Habit. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the book, The Shack, and we had the topic of forgiveness and resentment came up. And I thought that it would be really appropriate to follow it up with somebody who really implements what she teaches. And her book, again, is called The Forgiveness Habit. Let me tell you a little bit about Jo Ann. Go ahead. Yes, show that, Jo Ann. Oh, I love the cover.
Thank you.
Love the cover. Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. So what I sent out this week was that the greatest gift you can give yourself is forgiveness. And I asked you a few questions. So maybe in your mind, as we begin this conversation, you want to ask yourself these questions. Do you struggle with letting go of things of the past that keep you stuck in unforgiveness? Or are you weighted down with unforgiveness of others and unforgiveness of yourself? I know a lot of people struggle with self-forgiveness, myself included. Are you wishing that you could let go of the anger, the pain, and the suffering that comes along with unforgiveness? Well, today we have good news because Jo Ann has been able to bring together a program that actually will help you to find forgiveness in every area of your life and free yourself. Forgiveness is not about freeing the other person. It's about freeing yourself. They may not even know you're mad at them or that you have unforgiveness in your heart. So Jo Ann Rotermund is an author, speaker, and forgiveness coach. She has spent her life being a victim until 2001, when her study of forgiveness helped heal her past and bring personal power, freedom, and joy into everything she does. She's now retired from a 30-year career in social research. Jo Ann, who is absolutely passionate about forgiveness, has committed the rest of her life to inspiring others to make forgiveness a natural way of life, healing themselves and their world in the process. Her book, as I said, The Forgiveness Habit, an action plan for healing ourselves and our planet, with the foreword by, get this, Desmond Tutu. How cool is that? It provides all you need to know to start making forgiveness a natural part of your life. Jo Ann practices what she preaches, and she just celebrated 50 years, congratulations, Jo Ann, of marriage, and credits her forgiveness work for the happiness she and her husband share. So, excuse me, welcome to Transformational Tuesdays, Jo Ann. Nice to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. Wonderful. I love it.
You're welcome. So we're going to do things a little bit differently than we usually do on Transformational Tuesdays. We usually have a conversation, but because Jo Ann's information is so important, and it's important in the order which it is presented, we're going to have she has a PowerPoint that she's going to share with us. And for those of you who are on the phone, she's got everything she's saying. There are bullet points that are going to be on the screen. This is being recorded, so you can absolutely get the recording once we are finished here today. It will be posted on transformationaltuesdays.com. And I invite you to go ahead and watch that. But you can follow along very easily. I've already viewed the slides, so I know that you can follow along very easily, whether you're listening or whether you're watching. So, Jo Ann, I am going to ask you one question, and then I'm going to ask you to go ahead with your slide presentation and your teaching on forgiveness.
Okay.
Why and how did forgiveness become so important to you as an individual?
Okay. So I grew up in a Methodist minister's home let me go, something happened here. Oh, there. Okay. And small rural East Texas, and I was taught to never get angry at anyone. I mean, not anyone. I would come in sometimes, as a child, playing outside or at school or whatever, unhappy about something someone said to me, and I'd talk to my mother, and she would say, well, just put a smile on your face and go on. Don't let it bother you. They didn't mean anything. Just go on. And I learned to stuff all my upsets and all my anger, all my tears. I learned to stuff everything, put a smile on my face and go on. And I went on. I went on. And I was a good little girl. I was a good preacher's daughter. I learned my lessons well. And I grew up this way with a smile on my face and letting everyone think I was totally happy, while inside I was crying. But no one ever knew that. I got married that way. I had children that way, and with virtually no permission inside of me to get upset about anything. It was always smile on my face and I'm happy and life is good. What finally happened is that I went into a severe depression after about 9 years of marriage and 2 kids, and didn't know what was going on. I just knew that life wasn't working. And one day I attended at least life wasn't working very well. I attended a PTA meeting, and the speaker was a psychotherapist, and I really liked what she said and how what she answered, how she answered people's questions. I thought she was good, so I went to her and talked to her. I just felt really called to talk to her, and set up an appointment to start seeing her. She made a huge difference in my life, huge. Introduced me to all kinds of self-help things and really changed my life. But there was one thing she worked and worked on that could never get me to do, and that was to express anger. She tried and tried, pounding pillows. This is me pounding a pillow in those days. Pounding a pillow.
I can so relate to everything that you're saying. The anger was something that was not allowed in my household either.
Yeah.
Go to your room until you can put a smile on your face. Little girls do not get angry, was what
Exactly.
I'm tracking with you 100%. Absolutely.
Exactly. Thank you. So at some point, she tried all kinds of things to get me to express anger, and I never did. And probably the one thing I remember her saying to me clearly, distinctly, I remember the words more than anything else, is, Jo Ann, you are by far the most passive person I have ever met in my life. And I just said, yeah, okay. That was that. Soon after that, my husband got transferred 2,000 miles away to upstate New York. We were living here in Houston at the time, and moved to upstate New York. And I was excited to move and jumped into my new life and never looked back. I never found any further help or anything. And one day I was at a filling station and something happened and someone hollered at me. Some man really hollered angrily at me. And guess what? I hollered back at him. And I was kind of amazed. I went home. I was like, oh my gosh, I got angry at someone. Wow. And then a few weeks later, something like that happened and I got angry again. I went home. I was like, I'm getting angry at people. Wow, this is good. All right. Well, since I didn't seek out any help, I continued to get angry. And of course, it went completely out of control because it felt good. It felt good to scream and holler at someone. Oh my gosh. And I thought, no wonder my parents didn't want me to get mad at people. It feels good. Mm-hmm. So it really went completely out of control, completely the other way. It got to where one time my teenage daughters and I were walking into a mall they loved, big, beautiful mall they loved to go shopping in. And I heard them talking behind me, and they stopped me just before we went in the mall and said, Mom, we want you to promise us that you won't scream at anybody in here today. Otherwise, we'd rather just wait in the car until you get your shopping done, and we'll just go home then. Well, I was stunned and amazed because I thought what I was doing was good. I thought hollering at people was good. I didn't know I was upsetting my daughters. And so I promised them I wouldn't scream at anybody. But guess what? I did. If I didn't like how a cashier handled my, checkout, I'd holler at them. If I didn't like how some helper in the store helped me, I'd holler at them. I would even holler at total strangers, you know, if I didn't like the way they looked at me in the mall or something, I'd stop
Oh
and
my
holler at them.
goodness. So how did you flip that around to be able to come to a place where now you're teaching people about forgiveness? Was there something that specifically happened that flipped that switch?
I started seeing, I felt really bad that I would keep promising my family I wouldn't scream and holler anymore, and I would. And you know, they finally gave up because they knew I just couldn't help it. I started seeing forgiveness every time I'd go in someplace to, you know, to wait, you know, and be in a lobby waiting and pick up a magazine to read it. It'd be something on forgiveness. They're
Wow.
jumping out at me. And then I read those articles. Then I started seeing stuff on TV about forgiveness. And I knew I needed to do something with forgiveness. I didn't do it for a good while until one day I was taking a course of it was a 9-month course, a 5-weekend course spread out over 9 months on what are you going to do with your life that really makes a difference in the world. And I decided to go with forgiveness.
Wow.
So I started studying forgiveness and studying and seeing what I, you know, could learn about it. And one day I was talking with one of my daughters on the phone. I mean, by this time they were grown up and they were, you know, living on their own. I was talking with one daughter on the phone, and she said, "Wow, Mom, you're saying things I never thought I would hear you say. You were always a wonderful, loving mom, but you were always so angry.
Yeah.
You just were so angry. Jeanette and I didn't like it, but we finally learned there wasn't anything we could do about it, so we just let it be, and we loved you the way you were. We just had to learn to do that." Well, after that, I started really looking at it in a way like, wow, if I could do this, I mean, this is such an angry world we live in. You know, maybe some other people need this. I talked to my daughter more and more and more about it, and she agreed we ought to find some way to share it, what I had been learning.
So then let's share what you have in your screens.
Great.
And your,
Terrific. So that's what we got to it took me a while to write the book. I started sharing it and then eventually wrote the book. So here's one of the things I want to say. Okay. Let's look at this. I really had, you know, I think forgiveness is the most misunderstood word in the world. Literally.
Okay. Are you sharing your screen, Jo Ann?
Oh gosh, yes. I'm in the wrong.
Here, let's go with this. Let's let you tell us what's on the screen. So, because if we
just a minute, I know what I need to do. I know what I need to do. Let me do it right quick.
Okay. All
right. I forgot. I need to share the screen. I didn't do that. Here we go. I forgot.
Technology glitch. Here we go. Sharing your screen. It comes up black. You need to open it first and then do it.
So you don't see this?
No, I see black.
Okay, well now I opened up. Let me see.
Okay, so here's what I want to ask you to do. Stop sharing your screen because I want to get this information. You need to open this slide presentation before you share your screen.
I did that. Okay.
All right.
Okay, let me see.
Stop sharing.
Okay, go out of the sharing.
Stop sharing. Stop sharing.
Oh, now I'm out of.
All right, so you need to stop sharing your screen, Jo Ann. Wait, I apologize, everybody. We went through this. We thought we had it down, and unfortunately, that's not what happened. So what I would like for you to do is stop sharing your screen, Jo Ann.
I don't have a screen up here to stop sharing.
Do you see the sidebar with you and me and Teresa on it, or any of the other participants?
Yes.
Okay, click on that. Now stop sharing your screen.
Well, I'm clicking on it, but it's staying over there on
Open
the
the
side.
screen. Open the screen.
Okay, I have you up here.
Okay, look at the bottom.
It doesn't have a bottom on it.
You have a top that says stop share.
No.
Okay, so here's what we have to do.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know what. I don't understand why this is. It says join. So I have Zoom over here that says join a meeting, but I'm already in.
Yeah, go back out and come back in, please.
Okay. Leave meeting and come back in?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I apologize, ladies. We did this last night and we thought it was going to work. And unfortunately, apparently there's a glitch or that there was a lack of understanding of exactly what was to be done in order to be able to share that presentation. So when she comes back in, I'm just going to ask her to go through the slides and speak to us as to what she would have showed us. So I apologize for this. I just want to, if anybody wants to say hi, I'm going to unmute you all and see what's going on for the upcoming Easter holiday.
Schools are closed. Well, they're having trouble. Yeah, it's like over President's Week.
Okay. Unmute you all back out again because that was not. Apparently that was that. Okay, Jo Ann, here's what I would like you to do. I would like you to, on your side, for your purposes only, you can open up your presentation and share with us, and we will just listen, okay?
Well, I realize now that what I didn't do before was click on share screen. I just brought up the, I can now click on share screen.
You only have, Jo Ann, I'm going to ask you to do it this way because otherwise we're going to spend the next 10 minutes figuring out the technology. I apologize, but what I would like for you to do is just share what you were going to share with us on the screen, share it verbally, if you wouldn't mind. And I'll ask you, because I know the first thing that we talked about last night when we did this was what is forgiveness really? And I know that you're going to tell us what forgiveness is not and what forgiveness is. So let's go there, okay?
Okay, fine. Just do one thing right quick. Okay, so yes, I think forgiveness is one of the most, possibly the most misunderstood word in the world, in any language. I think it's very important for us to, before we go very far with anything I have to say, to start to get on the same page about forgiveness. So what is it anyway? Forgiveness, let me first say that forgiveness is not certain things. Forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, ignorance, or low self-esteem. Actually, it takes a very strong person to forgive, whether you're forgiving another or forgiving yourself. It takes strength and working with it. Forgiveness is not forgetting the past and putting ourselves at risk again. You don't forget anything. I have a very good friend who wrote a testimonial. That's part of it's on the back of my book. That 30-something years ago, her youngest daughter, at age 19, was murdered for simply being in the wrong place at the wrong moment, and she has never forgotten that, although she's long since forgiven the person who is spending his life on death row. And she and her family love him, have come to love him, and but they don't forget that he killed the member of their family. Repressing love, forgiveness is not repressing our anger and pretending we have not been offended. That's what I got taught to do, to stuff all my anger and pretend. That's not forgiveness. Mm-hmm. Forgiveness is not refusing to hold people accountable for their behavior. I had a friend one time, when she found out I was going to start doing stuff with forgiveness, she said, "Oh, maybe you can get to where we can do away with all the prisons." And I was like, "What do you mean?" No. If people break the law, if they do things wrong, they go to prison. What forgiveness allows, it doesn't mean you don't hold people accountable. It's just the opposite. You hold them accountable, but in a good way. So forgiveness is something you do for yourself, not for the perpetrator. And I cannot stress this enough. Forgiveness is 100% for you. If you forgive someone, you're doing it for yourself. It's not for the other person. And you don't even need to tell the other person. Forgiveness is the only way to move on from a deep wrong or injustice. Time does not heal all wounds, and our deepest wounds get healed only by forgiveness. Forgiveness is the greatest healer of all and the ultimate preventive medicine. This comes from two other people whose books I read. One was Forgiveness, the Greatest Healer, and I really, really believe this. And he was an MD who wrote it, and has healing centers all over the world. And his main thing he teaches in his healing centers is forgiveness. And it's also the ultimate preventive medicine, because it keeps us clear of all our emotional toxins, which make us just as sick as physical toxins.
Yes.
Forgiveness is an act of the heart that heals you and the world. And we'll get into this later on when I talk about oneness. But healing ourselves helps heal the world. Forgiving us and us forgiving others helps heal the world. It makes a difference in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
And so forgiveness is...
Go ahead,
yes,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Forgiveness is a way of being in life, like a habit. Okay. Did you have a question?
Yeah, why is it so difficult for most people to forgive? And I would like you to answer that question on two different levels. Why is it so difficult to forgive others? And then why is it most difficult, I find, to forgive ourselves?
Forgiveness seems so hard because we all have three very destructive habits, very negative but very powerful habits, and we all have these. We grow up with them. It's human beings have these, and we got them from the development of early human beings. Blaming is one of them. We blame others or ourselves, or mostly, most people blame others and ourselves, but most of us either are mainly finger pointing outward or we're finger pointing in, one or the other. Blaming, the need to be right. Oh my goodness, the need to be right is so strong and powerful. I'm going to talk about each one just a little bit. And then the other one is negative judging. So let's just look a little bit at blaming. The most important thing to understand about blame is how automatic, ingrained, and unconscious it is. Most of the time, unless you're making an effort to catch yourself in the act of blaming, you are not even aware you're doing it. The other important thing to understand about blame is how absurd it is. Yes, I said absurd. Blaming other people is absurd because it gives them control over your life whenever you think about them.
Yeah.
And, and we don't think about that, but we think about, we're blaming someone, or even if we're blaming ourselves, we get upset about it and pretty soon that's controls everything we're thinking about at the moment. Everything we're doing, we react all kinds of ways just from thinking about blaming someone or ourselves. The second thing is being right. There is no more, this is a quote from Mark Kleiman, there is no more destructive force in human affairs, not greed, not hatred, than the desire to have been right.
Wow.
If you're blaming someone for something, you are also being right about it. It is as automatic as blame. Our need to be right and our need to prove our rightness at any cost is the source of most, if not all, conflict in the world today, whether it is between nations, communities, social groups, families, or in our personal relationships. Mm-hmm. I like, I can't think of the word right now, when you have letters that make a word that each letter stands for something. Anyway, take the word, take the letters W-A-R, spells war.
Right.
Stands for we are right.
Yeah.
We are right. W-A-R, war. And the need to be right is, oh my goodness, causes so much conflict, and there's just no necessity for it at all.
Yeah.
Then there's negative judging, and this is automatic. It's even probably more automatic than blaming and needing to be right. Judgment means, however, to view the world as you are rather than as it is. And that is a quote from Wayne Dyer from his book, You'll See It When You Believe It.
Say that quote again, please.
Judgment means to view the world as you are rather than as it is.
Right.
Okay, Wayne Dyer.
Okay.
Judging does not change anything or anyone. It's coming completely from you, and it doesn't make any difference. Judging is based on your likes and dislikes and your thoughts about how other people are behaving, or how they should behave, or how they should look or shouldn't look. How you judge others, even your need to judge others, points to something incomplete within yourself. Boy, that's powerful. And you know, that's really important to get conscious of, that we judge automatically, especially negative judging. We do it so automatically, but it's something, it really points to something incomplete within ourselves. And when we can get complete with all of that, then we can just see someone and just, you know, that we might normally judge negatively, and then say, wow, I could never walk around looking like that. Oh my gosh, I would never color my hair that color, like neon pink and neon green, and walk around with that, you know. But if I'm complete with stuff within myself, I can say, wow, what an awesome person that she can do that, or he can do that, whatever. Right. So judging is even more automatic, as I said, than blaming and being right. It will probably never go away. We are all automatic judgment machines. It can be lessened and lightened with forgiveness, but will probably never go away completely in our lifetimes. Wow. So here's what I recommend, just to, you know, to complete this part, or I've got one more thing to say after this, but how to deal with it so that you become conscious, so that you can start to catch yourself, because mostly we're unconscious of doing these three things: blaming, being the need to be right, and negative judging. Play with it. And what I mean by play with it is just catch yourself, and take a little notebook, keep a little notebook, and every time you catch yourself blaming or being right or judging or needing to be right, just mark down. I caught myself one time with each one of them. Mark it down. Just, you don't need to write it, just put a mark, you know. Oh, I caught myself again, and make a mark. Caught myself again. Okay, and see how many times in the day you can catch yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't make yourself wrong. Don't get upset about it. Just say, oh, I caught myself. Oh, I caught myself. And play it as a game. I caught myself. And just play with it. Okay?
Okay. Well, that's, you know, that's really helpful, because I think that for me, I have discovered that if you are aware of what you're doing or not doing, only from the place of awareness and then acceptance can you actually take action on what it is that you feel you need to change or want to change.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So you have to become aware of it and get conscious and be able to notice when you're doing it, when you're caught in that. Right. And don't get angry about it. Just notice it. Oh, I'm doing it. Oh, right. Okay.
Right.
Good. Yeah. You know. And the more you notice it, the more you can then eventually take action. So I want to say one more thing about that and then move on. Whenever you find yourself caught in this behavior, remind yourself that you are the ultimate victim here. You are allowing your life to be controlled by the behavior of others. And no matter how much you may justify it, you are still a slave to the whims of others when you think and act this way. And there's no such thing as a happy slave.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Remind yourself that you are the ultimate victim. Wow. And that's so true, because the person who you are holding unforgiveness for may not even be aware that that's what's going on within you, and that person unknowingly is holding you captive because you're at, but it seems that way, but It's actually the other way around. You're holding yourself captive.
Yes.
You don't have anything
Yes.
they don't know. So then, how do you get to forgiveness and make it a natural way of living? And you say it's a way that you can enter each moment. It's actually a habit. How do you get to that
Yes.
place?
Thank you. Thank you for asking. Great. So one of the things I want to do is quote Desmond Tutu's one of my favorite quotes.
And then you're going to tell us how you got him to write the foreword to your book.
Let's see if we have enough time at the end. Okay.
Okay.
It's a great story, but let's go through this. Remind me at the end. Okay. Because it is a good story. To move into this next part on how can we get to forgiveness, to forgiving people, and to get past our 3 negative habits. Here's a quote that I love. We must learn to see with the eyes of God.
Oh, yeah.
That is, with the eyes of the heart and not just the eyes of the head. The eyes of the heart are not concerned with the appearances, but with the essences. And as we cultivate these eyes, we are able to learn from our suffering and to see the world with more loving, forgiving, humble, generous eyes.
Wow.
And that's from Desmond Tutu, Archbishop Emeritus and Nobel Prize laureate. So there are 3 very powerful and delightful practices that I recommend that will help you get past these 3 negative habits and will lead you naturally and simply, I didn't say easily, but simply, into forgiveness. And the 3 practices are gratitude, oneness, and reverence for all. So let me talk about them just a little bit. First of all, gratitude. Practicing gratitude daily is one of the most powerful positive habits you can develop. It is so powerful, it's just amazing to practice it daily. Expressing gratitude can turn an ordinary day into a great day. I mean, if you have stuff going on, I mean, you know, if something's happening in your day that's messing up your day, you're upset, there's a problem, it's not going away, stop and make a gratitude list.
Yeah.
And just send a blessing to each person and each thing, each situation on the list. List at least 5 things, preferably 10 or more, that you're grateful for.
This is something that is close to my heart. I have a page on Facebook called Grateful Hearts, and I am a huge advocate of a daily gratitude list. Matter of fact, there's going to be a book coming out. I'm actually gathering stories in the process of getting the website completed, called A Daily Gift of Gratitude, that I'm going to be inviting people to have a page in that book, and it'll be 1 page every day to spark a moment of gratitude within your heart. So I am totally in agreement that that's one place. The first place to go is gratitude. So thank you for that, Jo Ann.
You're welcome. Absolutely. So I want to say just a little bit more about gratitude, and I'm glad to hear that you're doing that. And after I got my attention on the power of gratitude, I began noticing how more and more people are getting in touch with the incredible power of gratitude. Right. And I'm so glad for that. So another thing that I want to put out there, and you can write this down, thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. Okay, that's something well, let me just tell you a little story. I got this affirmation or this mantra from a story I read in some book somewhere. The story is told about a woman Zen master named Sono who taught one very simple method of enlightenment. She advised everyone who came to her to adopt an affirmation to be said many times a day under all conditions. Thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. Now, many people from all arenas of life came to Sono for healing. Some were in physical pain. Others were emotionally distraught. Others had financial troubles. Some were seeking soul liberation. However, no matter what their distress or what questions they asked her, her response was always the same. She advised everyone who came to her to adopt a mantra to be said many times a day under all conditions. Thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. Some people went away disappointed. Others grew angry. Others tried to argue with her. Yet some people took her suggestion to heart and began to practice it. Tradition tells that everyone who practiced Sono's mantra found peace and healing.
Wow.
I suggest you write that on cards or post-it notes and whatever and put it around where you'll see it many times a day, every day, because you'll forget it. I promise you'll forget it. Just say, thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever, many times a day, every day, and just really start to cut the complaints out of your life. There's no reason for them other than you trying to feel good about a bad situation or something you consider a bad situation. So say that many times a day. It's very empowering.
Yeah. That's like the Ho'oponopono thing. Do you know Ho'oponopono?
I'm familiar with it. I haven't studied it. I don't know just exactly how it works, but I have heard of it and have read a little bit about it.
Yeah, basically it's four things to say, and I'm not sure I'm saying them in the right way. Thank you. I forgive you. Thank you. I forgive you. I'm sorry. I love you, or some those 4 phrases. I'm not sure. Yeah. And that basically changes. That's a flip in the mindset also. And what you're talking about here is a flip in the mindset.
Yes, it is.
To the gratitude piece. So yeah. Okay. Awesome. Great. I love that. Thank you.
Great. I do too. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, great. I want to go on with some more about gratitude. Feelings of gratitude release endorphins throughout your body, creating health and well-being. Mm-hmm. Expressing gratitude daily helps rejuvenate and heal your body. Studies show that counting our blessings improves psychological, emotional, and physical well-being. People who practice gratitude daily are an amazing 25% happier than those who do not.
Yeah.
And neuroscience is showing that habitual thoughts actually reshape our brains. When you focus daily on what you're grateful for, your mind turns away from negative, blaming, angry paths and towards seeing ever more to be grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
Even in our darkest hours, we can cultivate an attitude of gratitude. When we are genuinely appreciative for all that life has to offer, we see the light in ourselves and everyone else. We see everyone and everything as a potential blessing.
Mm-hmm.
So here's something I want to finish with gratitude. I think I'm finishing with it. Oh yeah, I am. Yep. Make gratitude the background music for your life.
Oh, I love that. Make gratitude background music for your life.
Yes, isn't that great?
I love that.
Just have gratitude playing in the background all the time. All the time.
Is that your quote?
No, I got it from someone. When I saw it, when I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. That's so great. Oh, wow. Wow. I want to do that.
I love that. That's awesome. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to another practice I call oneness.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh, Buddhist leader, teacher, author. We are here to awaken from the illusion of our separateness. Illusion of our separateness. Here is the absolute bottom line regarding oneness. One of the greatest, possibly the greatest, most important spiritual revelation of our time is that there is no other, there is only one, and we all are one with the one. And again, I have something from Wayne Dyer. I took from his book, You'll See It When You Believe It. He says, alone and all one are the same word, except for the extra L that's in all one. And he says the extra L stands for love. So alone is how we are when we are thinking and operating from our separation consciousness. But then when we add in love, and then we become, and you have A-L-L, O-N-E, I have to remember you're not seeing this, A-L-L-O-N-E, when you add the extra L in, and that's all one. That's how we are in our oneness consciousness.
Right.
And it's really, and it's both, both are right. Both is the way it is. we're here on this planet. We have to have, it's like I look at you and I see you. I don't see me. I see this. I see, we're separate because that's how we survive on this earth. But how we live at the most important way, most basic way, is all one. And actually, physically, at the most basic level, we are all one.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Wow.
So I have 2 short poems I'd like to read that really are beautiful, if that's okay, unless I should go on. Do you think I should move on?
Actually, I'm going to ask you to move on, and
Okay.
because I want to give those who are with us an opportunity to ask you a couple of questions if we can. So go ahead to your next.
Let me go ahead to reverence for all. Then we can take some questions, okay?
Okay.
So gratitude bestows reverence, allowing us to encounter everyday epiphanies, those transcendent moments of awe that change forever how we view life and the world. That's from John Milton, 17th century English poet.
Okay.
And here's a quote from John Muir, who founded the Sierra Club. And we have him to thank for the national parks of Yosemite and Sequoia. I only went out for a walk and finally concluded to stay out till sundown. For going out, I found, was really going in.
Oh.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Going out is really going in. Especially when you go out where it's beautiful and you spend time just being there with everything, in everything.
Wow.
And I have a picture here of some beautiful woods, a wooded area. And it says, and this was just a picture I found with this quote on it, so I don't know who said it, but I love it. There is no Wi-Fi in the forest, but I promise you will find a better connection.
Oh, wow. I love that. I love that.
I love it too.
Yes.
There's no Wi-Fi in the forest, but I promise you will find a better connection.
And you don't know who said that?
No, there was no name with it. I just got this picture from Bing or somewhere, I don't know, and that was on there. And so it seemed to be free to use and no name with it.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. I would invite everybody, if you're listening or watching at this point, if you have a question or a comment or something to share regarding forgiveness or anything that Jo Ann has shared so beautifully with us, I'd love to hear from you. You can, if you're on the phone and you want to raise your hand, press *9. If you are on the video, if you click on manage participants, I think there's a raise hand option there as well. So let's go ahead and have some questions for Jo Ann. But I have a question. You said that there's 3 practices when you talk about how to implement forgiveness, and I wrote down gratitude, of course, oneness, and reverence for all. But on your website, it says that there's 4. What's the other one?
Okay. Can I come out of this and talk a little? Because I don't have slides for that.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So I'm going to come out, and I might not be able to get back in. I don't know.
That's right. We're probably not going to have to go back in because if they don't have questions, I have questions.
Okay. Okay, fine. Okay. There. Okay. Here I am. Oh, great. So, did you have a question or someone have a question?
Actually, somebody has a question. Beth, I think you have a question, yes?
Yes, more so a comment, perhaps, Teresa. And Jo Ann, thank you so much for all this amazing and very powerful perspective on forgiveness. It is a tough thing. It really is. And we've seen people on shows like Oprah who have forgiven people who have murdered their children and done heinous things. And we wonder how you can have the capacity, how any human can have the strength, is how I look at it, to do that. But in thinking about it, and I think what I'm hearing you say also, you say you become the ultimate victim, but you really become a victim of, and a hostage, if you will, of yourself, not of the other person, because the offender often moves on and it doesn't really sometimes make a difference in that person's life. And the person who is offended, lingers with it. And it really means just letting it go and not letting someone else remain in a position when it doesn't really matter to them to harden your heart. Take the high road is maybe a simple way of saying it. And don't let someone else make you a victim. And most importantly, do not become a victim of yourself, because I think self-sabotage, another whole big story, obviously, is so sad. And you can see people, they wear it on their face. They become sometimes worse than the offense really was in the first place by holding on to it.
Mm-hmm.
And we all the time, I'm a Christian, I all the time ask for forgiveness from my God. And not to make it a religious thing, but we ask forgiveness as we are forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive others. And I think it's just a powerful way of taking the high road, letting go, be the bigger and the better person, and taking control of your own life, your own emotions. And you said, interestingly, you don't even have to let the other person know it. I think sometimes we can be offended by people and they're not aware that they have offended us.
Exactly.
And yet we sadly linger in that place and they're oblivious. I think you can tell someone why they have offended you. I think you have the right to. But another definition that I read someplace is it's giving up. Forgiveness is like giving up my right to continue to hurt you for hurting me. And it's just kind of, the other side of the coin, if you will. So it definitely provokes a lot of thought. And I don't think there's anyone in the world who hasn't been probably on both sides of it. Being the offender and being the one who is offended.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a matter, let go, move on, learn from it. And if you choose to sever a relationship over something minor, sad, but it is your choice. And just, can't we all get along?
Yeah, why can't we all just get along?
I guess that would be the question.
I want to ask Jo Ann, because you brought up a really good point in what you just said, Beth. Sometimes we go to a place of self-sabotage that stems from unforgiveness, either of ourselves or of another. What do you have to say about that, Jo Ann?
Well, it comes from, that happens. We all do it at times. Some do it more than others. It comes again from that place of that we grow up. It's such a part of human life. It comes from ancient civilization, ancient human development of blaming, needing to be right, and negative judging. Those three things lock us in. And usually when we're not willing to forgive, when we're even just going along, not even really all that angry, but get upset when we think of that person or something like that, it's because we're living in this blaming and being right mode. And forgiveness is so powerful. Forgiveness is so powerful.
Yeah.
It takes away that. If you can get to that place where you can forgive, it takes that away. This woman I mentioned before that has a little bit of a testimonial on the back of my book. She spent I think like 12 or 13 years after her daughter was killed, waiting for him to get executed. And she was so angry, and she literally was making herself sick and other family members, and all sorts of problems in her family because she and others were waiting for him to be executed, because so many people had said, once he's executed, you're going to find peace. Once he's executed, everything will, it'll be okay. And then, everything will be fine. And she kept waiting, and it didn't happen, and she was getting sick. Finally, someone said to her, why don't you just forgive him and be done with it? And she thought about it and decided to do it. She wrote him a letter, forgave him. That's something I do recommend, that if you do need to forgive someone who's in prison, forgive them and let them know you forgave them, because they're living with it every minute in prison.
Yeah.
And it's good, to do that. It changed her life totally and completely because he wrote her back, thanked her, and asked her to come see him in prison. And she had never even thought that something like that might, she had never, anyway, she went to see him, and it was the beginning of a whole new life for her and her family. And it's been, around 30 years now, 20 something years that she's been going to see him and other people in prison. And he's like a family member now. And they can't get him out of prison, but they're certainly doing their best to make sure he never gets executed.
Wow. Wow. So that's ultimate forgiveness.
Completely changed everything and kept her and her family from being sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Teresa, am I still on here?
You are.
That's a great story, and it takes so much strength to do that. Another word that came to my mind in speaking of those things is revenge, is that people seek it. And you go back into, history with the Code of Hammurabi, let's say, the law was an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and that somehow, that was going to make it right. I don't think it ever does, because now it makes you, I guess, if you're seeking revenge, as bad as the other person, you stoop to that level. And you're talking about serious things here when you're talking about people who are incarcerated. What a gift that is, though, because you let it go and you give that, as you said, they're living with it every day. It gives them the opportunity to perhaps find more self-worth for themselves and maybe allow them to forgive themselves and go on and lead a better life. Help somebody else, it's that chain reaction.
Yeah. And I want to say on that, as far as revenge is concerned, and I'm sure everyone has been in a situation where they want to get revenge on someone who has hurt them or, somehow put them in a place of unforgiveness. I read somewhere that the best revenge in any situation is living a good, happy, peaceful life. And that in itself, that kept me from really lashing out to people who have hurt me in my life. And it really is a good way to think about it. The best revenge is living your best life, really.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good point. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's very good. Thank you for sharing. What about the fourth habit? Should I go on with that?
Yes, let's get the fourth one.
Okay. There is a fourth habit I talk about that I think is very important. In the classes I teach, I usually don't talk about it until after we've gone through some forgiveness processes and people have done forgiving, but we can't do that on here. So I want to go ahead and mention it. It's what I call telling new stories. And we live by stories. We don't realize the extent to which how essential stories are to us as human beings. Stories tell us where we came from, who we are, and how to live. We love stories, and we live by stories. What we don't realize is that most of the time, the stories we live by, we hear and grow up with and live by, are victim stories. It's really, most stories that, even on TV, on movies, and it's the good guys battling out against the bad guys trying to do something bad to everybody and all of that. So many stories we hear are victim stories, and we get used to that and we live by those. I call victim stories old stories. Yeah. And I suggest we give them up. It's time to quit telling our old stories. Mm-hmm. How often, we've all had this experience, I'm sure, and there have been times we've all participated in it. You're with a group of people and someone tells a story, and it's a poor me, sad victim story. You can't believe what happened to me, and they tell their story. And then someone says, you think that's bad. Let me tell you what happened to me.
That's the can you top this syndrome. Can you top this?
Yes, exactly, that kind of thing. And another person will say, yeah, that's bad, all right, but listen to this. This is really bad. And they tell their horrible victim story. And everyone listens and goes, oh, yes, oh, yeah, that's too bad. And we think we're feeling better. We think we're making each other feel good. In fact, it's just the opposite. That doesn't make us feel good. Tell a good story. Tell a happy story. And I don't have time to tell my two stories. One is a victim story I told for years before I studied forgiveness, a victim story that was just really, I told it I told it thousands of times. And I thought, I was right in doing it. But then I learned about forgiveness, and it was about, the victim story was about how I got stopped one time when I thought unfairly, and given a speeding ticket. And it was a lot of bad stuff. And then I studied forgiveness, and I'd already written my book and everything, and I got stopped again. I had rented a car and had been upgraded, and I had a mid-sized car that was brand new, and I had no idea how fast I was going until I zoomed through a speed trap and looked down and saw I was doing almost 85 miles an hour.
Oh, good Lord.
I was on a highway, and I had no idea. And so I pulled over, the policeman gave me a ticket and said what he had to say and everything. Then I said, could you wait just a minute? I want to thank you for stopping me. This is a very special, as you know, this is a rent car. My own car is little and old and makes noise when I get much over 70, so I know to slow down. I had no idea I was going this fast. I have a very special, wonderful, fun day planned for today, and I would not want anything to happen, like an accident or something that would ruin the day. Now I know to pay attention to the speed and how fast and how quickly and how quietly this car can go real fast. So thank you for stopping me and giving me a ticket, and thank you for all that you do and all that you do to protect us in very dangerous situations. He said, well, thank you, ma'am, and walked away. I went on to the party.
Did he give you the ticket? I have to know. Did he give you the ticket?
He gave me the ticket. Oh, yeah. I waited until he had given me the ticket. I didn't try to get out of it. He gave me the ticket and everything, and then I set it aside, and I said, wait just a minute. I just wanted to tell you something. So I picked up my friends, and we went down to Galveston to a friend's house who was having a party, and we had a wonderful time. I told this story several times there, and everybody loved it, and it lightened up and brightened up the party. And I heard someone telling it to someone else even, talking about me, telling it. It was wonderful. And tell new stories. Don't tell your victim stories. Don't get caught up in the old poor me victim story stuff. Tell new stories of love and joy and happiness and people helping people and making a difference in people's lives, miracles, all kinds of things. Tell the happy things. And that's what really makes a difference. And get everyone telling those stories.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I would never think to do that. Never think to do that. Craziness. But oh wow, I can't believe we're almost at the top of the hour. I want to get a little permission to maybe go on a little bit since we had that little glitch. And I want to say that there was one point in my life, there was something in my life that I was really having a hard time forgiving myself for. And at the time I was a practicing Catholic, and I was really, really beating myself up for it. And I had to go to a Catholic priest and for two reasons. I believed that I took my marriage vows for better or for worse, for sickness and in health, till death do us part. And I was really having a hard time letting go of my abusive husband. And I actually got permission from this priest to file for divorce. And he said to me, Teresa, get out of this relationship before he kills you. And that was one thing. But then while I was there, it was like I was talking about this thing that I'm having such a hard time forgiving myself for. And this goes to the oneness thing that you talked about. And he said to me, Teresa, if God forgives you, how arrogant is it of you to hold on to this for yourself? And I thought to myself, oh my God. He says, if you think that for 1 minute you are not forgiven, that God has not forgiven you for this, and you're thinking that you are greater than God, think again. So I went to a whole different place with that, and ultimately I believe I have forgiven myself. But I did sabotage myself for a long time, and I'm wearing a lot of how I sabotage myself. I was like, I would get serious case of, oh, screw this, for whatever it was. And I still go there sometimes. And then I was eating myself to death over things that I made bigger than life in my life, and took over. You know, the daddy thing, little girls don't get angry, go to your room until you can come with a smile on your face. Grandma would say, eat this, you'll feel better. I'm like,
Yes.
so it's
Yes.
like, okay, I'll take that option.
Yes.
And it's a circle. It's a circle. It's a merry-go-round that we have the power to get off of. And let me see here. What is Lynn saying? I don't think this has anything to do with Christians together. Lynn's asking, if Christians really believe in forgiveness, how can they allow our children to be taught and trained and paid to volunteer to be taught to war? I don't think it's just Christians. I think it's universally, regardless of what your beliefs are. I think that this world is in a place of, you know, the we are right. I love that you shared that, Jo Ann. The we are right. WAR stands for we are right. And then why don't Christians help create a New Earth community healing arts and transformation service centers where police can take people for healing instead of jails? Juvenile delinquency, foster care for both elder and youth, need forgiveness, counseling, family counseling. Yes, absolutely. Soul therapy, LMT. Yeah, universal laws, New Earth enlightenment, and green services. I'm in total agreement with you, Lynn. And I think that everybody listening, whoever can do something, the oneness thing, we are all created. We are all energetic. We are all energy. Emotion is emotions. And I think that if we all together, regardless of what our religious beliefs are, or our individualism is, or a universal, guidance, whatever that is, it doesn't really matter. I think it's a mindset shift that the world needs to have in order to be able to bring in the healing arts, the forgiveness that Jo Ann is so graciously talking about here, and all of that, and moving the mindset. Karen Mayfield was on earlier this morning, and she was my guest last week. And in September, we're going to have what we're calling a universal prayer for peace, pray for peace. And we're talking about how that's actually going to roll out and have people all over the country praying for peace. Prayer is huge, huge. If you want something changed, get people praying about the same thing at the same time. Pay people to go to church, not war. Interesting comment there, Lynn.
That's very interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Very interesting.
Yeah, interesting comment. So regardless of what your belief system is, who you believe God is, what you believe as in terms of who the creator is or whatever, the religious doesn't matter. It's like, where is your heart? I think it all goes down to the heart, right, Jo Ann? Does it all come down to the heart?
Yes, it all comes down to the heart. We must, as the Desmond Tutu quote, we must learn to see with the eyes of the heart. That is the eyes of God. Mm-hmm. It all comes down to the heart and love, the soul. I mean, we're talking soul. When we talk heart that way, we're talking soul. Mm-hmm. And I want to say something, just a tiny bit right here at the end, because no one got to see the slides. Many of these slides, not all of them, many of them, and then a lot of slides on forgiveness are on the Forgiveness Habit Facebook page. Okay. You can see them there, and then I also encourage people to go to my site, theforgivenesshabit.org. And I have a lot of videos on there that there was certainly no time for today. Some beautiful, beautiful videos. And I didn't get to talk about reverence for all. I understand the time situation, but go to the page Reverence for All. That's what's missing out of the practices today. Well, I got to talk about it a little bit, didn't I? That's right.
Yeah,
I didn't finish it the way I wanted to.
Yeah, and if we could actually hold people regardless of who they are or what they have done, that we feel we have been victimized by, if we could hold them in a place of reverence. Because, you know, regardless of what you believe, what your religious belief is, if we are all created by the same creator, we are all brothers and sisters. And so, you know, to treat each other as family, although some people did not have a very good family upbringing, but to treat each other as the family that you would like to be treated as, like, you know, find the gratitude in your heart, you know, do the things that Jo Ann suggested, the three things: find gratitude, oneness, and reverence for all, and then go ahead and tell another story. Those are the 4 things that I think are key. And I've had to go through it. I'm sure each and every one of you have had to go through at least one thing in your life where forgiveness was tough.
Yeah.
But I invite you to embrace what Jo Ann has said today, and the things that she has brought to light today, you know, the destructive habits, and then those things that can help to heal. So, Jo Ann, I want to thank you for coming to Transformational Tuesdays. Can you tell people how they can get in touch with you if they want to have a more lengthy conversation? 3 things I'd like. Restate your website, give them an email address where they can connect with you, and how does one get your book?
Okay. So my website is theforgivenesshabit.org. Okay. And you can get in touch with me by Jo Ann at theforgivenesshabit.org. Or if you want, I respond from Jo Ann, JORO1510 at hotmail.com.
Okay.
So you can email, you know, JORO1510 at hotmail.com. Either one of those. And my book is available through Amazon, and I've started working with my website person. I have more time in my life right now, and I'm selling it through my website as soon as she gets it set up. I had it there and then took it off because I got so busy. I didn't want to be shipping books, but now I'm free again. I can ship books, and you want to do it through just keep checking. It'll be in a few days up on my website that they can get it through my website. Otherwise, it's on Amazon, either the regular paperback book or the Kindle version.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day.
My pleasure. It's been a joy. Yes. Thank you very much. It's just amazing that we got connected last Friday, and wow.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, read the chats, guys. There's a lot of good stuff going on. And Lynn says it's time for soul, time for divine purpose shakers. And that brings me to tell you that if you haven't gotten Purpose Shakers, the book, I was blessed enough to write 3 stories in that book. So Purpose Shakers is also available on Amazon.com. And I was invited to speak at a conference in Memphis regarding the same thing in May, at the end of May. So I'm excited about that. And the work that you do, Jo Ann, is so powerful and so necessary in today's world, as we see the divisiveness between people in this country and people in this world. You know, there's a lot of things going on. I'm not going to get involved in the conversation of what's happening. We all know what's happening. And our part in the whole thing is to begin with ourselves. Forgive yourself, forgive others, pray for yourself, your family, your community, the country, the world. Create a ripple effect in your life. However you do that positively, start with gratitude. It's a great thing that gratitude is number 1 on your list, because I fully and totally believe that we are from a grateful heart stems great change. So I believe that. So thank you again. And as we come upon Easter and Good Friday, where many of us believe that forgiveness was born through the sacrifice of Christ, I wish you all a very happy and blessed Easter. Thanks again. And enjoy your week, enjoy your holiday, and come back again next week. In the meanwhile, enjoy traveling what I call the transformational trails of life. See you next time, everyone.
Thank you.